Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade, and today moving right along with my Ghostbusters movie reviews leading up to Frozen Empire, which releases on March 22nd. I'm going to, of course, be reviewing next in line Ghostbusters 2 from 1989, directed once again by Ivan Reitman, and starring once again Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, Rick Moranis, Sigourney Weaver, and the rest of our favorites. So, a lot of people fall into different camps with this film, as with all films, of course. Some people say that this is the typical case of sequelitis, and it's vastly inferior to the first film. Other people say that it's on the same level as the first film, and still, even others, and I have heard this, say that they prefer Ghostbusters 2 over Ghostbusters 1. Me, I definitely kind of fall into the first two categories. I don't think that this movie is a total train wreck, and I forgot to mention that category. There are people who just completely hate this movie, say that they completely dropped the ball after the original movie from 1984. I don't think that. There are actually a couple of things in Ghostbusters 2 that are as good as, if not better than, some of the things done in Ghostbusters 1, and I'll get to that. But it definitely gets dragged down by the some of the symptoms of sequelitis. Most noticeable symptom of sequelitis that this film has is trying to recapture and redo what people liked about the original movie, but not in a really clever or innovative or subtle way. It takes beat for beat story beats from the first movie and presents them here, and it's pretty much like, hey, remember how much you enjoyed this scene in the first movie? Well, we're literally going to do it again, except in a slightly different context. And that's kind of above with above all else, that's really what kind of drags Ghostbusters 2 down and makes it inferior to the first film for me. That it literally does repeats stuff from the first movie. That being said, that being said, one thing that I actually prefer here in Ghostbusters 2, something I prefer more here than in the original movie, is the antagonist, antagonists, if we're being technical, the bad guys in this movie. I actually liked them a bit better than the bad guy in Ghostbusters. In the first movie, it's pretty much this demon who's kind of being resurrected because of an kind of end of days ancient religious prophecy. Whereas here you have, um, I guess say kind of something similar where the season of terror is upon everybody, but the villain here uses a human henchman to do his bidding, and he is just he's a character. He's pretty. I'm not gonna say he's the most hysterical thing in this movie, but he got some laughs out of me. And in addition to the big baddie in this movie having a human sidekick to do his bidding so he can once again be reborn, you also have the element of this slime that literally feeds off of negativity in New York City, which allows it to grow and manifests. And the I like the whole plot. What part of the plot is the Ghostbusters figuring out how to find a way to make one of the most miserable cities on Earth, pretty much, happy, to how to trying to figure out a way to make everybody in New York City positive. That was awesome. That was really well done, and I enjoyed seeing that. But the problem is, going back to that sequelitis, is that so much of this movie, a good chunk of it, is kind of the replication of the first movie that we've already seen, which kind of proves my point in my original view in my review of the first Ghostbusters movie, that this was just such a lightning in a bottle thing, and as they say, you can't catch lightning in a bottle twice, and this unfortunately kind of proves that, because they try to go for it, they try and literally replicate what we all liked in the first movie, but just in a slightly more inferior way. But I do like the villains more in this movie. I do like the threat they're up against, and like I said, I did enjoy the whole using positivity to stomp out the negativity. That actually kind of got me here in the feels. And also, I liked they're not like, I won't say this movie goes like full on with the horror. It's still, after all, Ghostbusters is still a horror comedy. I'm not gonna say this movie is like significantly darker or scary, but I noticed an effort into I noticed the effort. I noticed the attempt at making this a darker and more sinister film than the original 1984 one. There are some scenes in this movie where the horror factor is dialed up all the way to 11, and I liked seeing that. I like seeing again, the antagonist in this film presented as a bigger threat than Gozer in the first movie. Vigo is the big baddie in this movie. I liked how, I won't say they fully succeeded, but I liked how, again, there were efforts into making him a more serious threat. I liked, and that's mainly in part to, like I said, kind of like dialing up the horror. Also, I like how the side characters in this movie get to shine a bit more. Louis Tully, played by Rick Moranis, and Melnitz, their receptionist, they get more shine in this movie. I like the little romance that they have. Rick Moranis in this movie, in my opinion, is a bit funnier than he was in the first Ghostbuster, where he's pretty much like the annoying, overly chatty, overly nosy neighbor. Here, he's kind of their I guess like assistant and accountant, and I like the bigger role that he's given, and I like the there's a moment in this movie where he really gets to shine. I enjoyed that. Um so yeah. I'm not gonna say that this is like this Ghostbusters 2 is horrible. It never should have been done. They never should have tried it. There's nothing in it that's redeemable, because there's a lot of things that I like about Ghostbusters 2, but it is still inferior to that first Ghostbusters movie for me, and in my opinion, it tries to repeat the original to no avail. There also, as much as I've talked about, how this does try and, like, at least in my opinion, try and, like, have like a bit of a darker tone and have more sinister and creepy moments, it kind of clashes with also the attempt at being a little bit more campy. Whereas I feel like in the first Ghostbusters movie, they were definitely able to find kind of a better, more cohesive harmony with like the comedy and the horror. Like, they were able to make those two vastly different genres, of course, coexist in the first movie. Here they kind of clash with one another. I like the darker tone of some of the scenes. I like how the horror factor was dialed up, but then we would cut to a scene where it was jokey joke, campy camp. Look, we got a baby now. We got dancing toasters. We got the slime responding to Jackie Wilson. We got a judge who's screaming at the top of his lungs because he's so pissed off. And it just doesn't always gel well in the sequel. So yeah, there you have it. Wrapping it up, I still enjoy what I liked in Ghostbusters 2. I still really did enjoy. So I'm gonna give Ghostbusters 2 a 7 out of 10. Not as good as the first movie from 1984, of course, but it still has its moments. It still has some value to be enjoyed. I like seeing the quartet back together again. I like how the side characters got more shine. I like the darker and creepier moments in this movie. I like the villains better than I like the villains in the first movie. I really did. I like Vigo. I liked his little minion. I like the mood slime. So there's stuff to be enjoyed, but the execution could have been better. I've heard that all of this, that it kind of had a lukewarm execution and finished product because there was a lot of behind the scenes drama, which is usually the case with inferior sequels. So yeah, it's all good. 7 out of 10 for Ghostbusters 2. This has been another edition of Wade Watches, and I can't wait to get to the hot takes in this franchise next. I'll see you all later. Peace.